Hey YouTube, this is just a quick video about modern day bartering. Why wait for SHTF? There are lots of chances in your everyday life to do some bartering, so I'm just going to tell a couple stories about recent bartering encounters that I've had and just kind of hopefully get you thinking about ways you could maybe barter to save a little bit of money in your everyday life. So the first story is a quick one. Probably about a year ago, there was a 50-ounce bar that I had my eye on at my local coin shop. It was a cool vintage Johnson Matthey poured bar. And it was a 50-ounce bar, so I didn't have the money for it, so I brought in some other silver to try to trade for it. And I had a few pieces that were generic, but that the local coin shop owner was interested in, that he gave me a little bit more of a premium on. And I had a few eagles that he gave me a little bit more on compared to the generic, and he was going to sell the bar for the generic price, $1 per ounce over spot. And so anyway, I ended up trading him, and I traded the bar, the 50-ounce bar, for 48 ounces of my silver. So I ended up coming out 2 ounces ahead, and I got a really cool poured bar out of it. And I think if I were to try to resell that bar, I would probably capture a much bigger premium than the dollar over spot, because it's a cool older vintage bar. It's a poured bar, which there's kind of there's a lot of people who are looking for those, and so I thought it was a good deal, and I came out a couple ounces ahead by trading rather than buying it. Another story is a while back I wanted to get a Colt 1911, and I looked around locally and I couldn't find one. And finally one came up at a local gun shop, and I kind of impulse bought it. But I ended up trading to get it, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted, and I probably should not have gotten it. It was a little bit too fancy. It had silver engraving on it, and sterling silver, and it was it was one I wouldn't want to carry, and I wouldn't even really want to shoot. It was kind of just one that would sit in the safe, to look at. So, but I ended up trading 2 guns for it, and the 2 guns that I traded for it, I was into about $800 between the 2 guns, and I was able to trade for it. And part of the reason I think that I was able to do that, they were asking $1,200, by the way, for the 1911, so I came out ahead on that trade. But the reason I was able to do that was because I'd been in this gun shop a lot, and I knew the owner fairly well, and I knew what he was into. And that's kind of a tip I would give you, is if you're going to barter with someone, have an idea of what they're into. Go check out their shop and look around and see what's in there. And if you see, that's usually the kind of stuff that they like. So if this gentleman who owns this gun shop, I knew that he had a collection of Iver Johnson guns, and which is a smaller manufacturer, and so I had this Iver Johnson revolver that he didn't have, that I'd shown him and I knew he had interest in. So it was a revolver that I'd picked up for $100, and I traded to him. I think he gave me $300 toward the gun on that, and then I traded him an old revolver. Anyway, I was able to trade those 2 for the 1911. After a while, of course, I decided I didn't really want the 1911 because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I took it to, first I tried to trade it at my local coin shop, but the local coin shop, he wasn't interested in it, so we couldn't quite come to a deal. So, which is another tip I would say on bartering, is if at first you don't succeed, try again, try somewhere else. So I took it to a local pawn shop here, and I knew the owner collected 1911s. And so I mentioned it to him casually one day that I had this, and then he was like, "Oh, you should bring it in." And so I purposely, the next few times I went in, did not bring it in. I wanted to kind of keep him, asking me about it. He kept saying, when are you going to bring that gun in? I want to see that gun. And I kept saying, "Oh yeah, I'll bring it in." So I kind of was just trying to whet his appetite a little bit. Then when I finally did bring it in, I didn't, say I wanted to get rid of it, even though I knew that I did. And the few times before that when I'd been in there, I kind of had been keeping an eyeball on stuff that I kind of wanted in there to trade. So anyway, I took the gun in, and we ended up trading, and I got about $1,200 worth of stuff from the pawn shop for this gun. And I was only into it about $800 between the 2 guns that I traded. And so anyway, I think I came out ahead on the deal, and I ended up getting rid of a gun that I really didn't want in the first place. And I got quite a bit of cool stuff out of it. So anyway, guys, this is kind of some tips and some thoughts of mine on bartering. You don't have to wait for SHTF. You can barter in your everyday life. I have friends. A friend of mine just bartered. He actually got his employer to take to pay for his family to go on a vacation, and then to get paid in that, to pay off the vacation, and it saves him some of the money on taxes and things like that. And they went to Disneyland, and so there's all kinds of stuff you can do out there, whether it's for work or whatever else. But in fact, I just had a gentleman the other day who offered to help me put in fence. I just moved to a new house and we have a huge lot and we're going to put in fence, and I had a guy offer to help me with the fence if I would help him paint his house. And so, things like that are out there all the time if you want to save some money. So just a couple thoughts, of mine on bartering. And the biggest tip I could give you is, if when it comes time, to barter, have an idea of what the other person's going to want, what they value, and what you value the object at. And the other reason I think I was able to come out ahead at the pawn shop too was I picked some items out that I knew had been sitting there for a while. He was having a hard time moving, so I figured he'd be more willing to kind of move on some of those. And of course I kind of had some insider info. I knew that he had changed out some of his tags a while back, and so the way that he was tagging some of his guns and things like that. So I could tell which items were the older ones because they had the older tags on them. So I could tell stuff that had been sitting there for 2 years or more because they had the old tags. And so anyway, those are just kind of some tips too on bartering that might help you in your everyday life. So anyway, guys, get out there and barter if you haven't. It's fun, it's good practice, and it'll save you some money. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care. God bless.